Namaskar. It now appears that resistance to the new coronavirus, COVID-19, in the form of immunity is spreading fast in communities all over the world, and that is good news. This immunity is derived from two sources. The first is natural immunity, which is now available to millions and millions and millions of people all over the world who have been previously infected and now who carry a wide suite of naturally produced antibodies in their system. The second method is the vaccination program, which also induces slightly lesser antibodies. So immunity is spreading through both these methods. The problem now, of course, is that many governments, in particular the US, and which is copied by many nations, including here in India, do not want to talk about or accept or acknowledge the fact of natural immunity, because if they did, the solution to this problem would be so much easier. But they are not doing that. Now the question which arises now is, if the cases that are reducing, the new cases of COVID-19, if they are seen to be reducing in our communities, what should be attributed to? Should be attributed only to vaccination, which is what most of the governments are doing now, and which has thrown up a very crucial scientific query. How many amongst the previously infected, those who had natural immunity, have taken the vaccination? Now obviously millions and millions have. In the US alone, a study in June, the Kaiser study, if I am not mistaken, the Kaiser Family Foundation survey, found that 57% of those previously infected have been vaccinated. Many voluntarily, and that is good, but many others also forcibly, because they have been threatened that they can not enter public places or that they will be fired from their jobs, so they have had to take it. Now whatever the reason, I have this question which is of tremendous scientific importance. Which data can help us solve, but that data is not available, and that question is, how much of this claim of reduced fresh cases should be attributed to vaccination, and how much of it should be attributed to natural immunity? The fact is that in our communities now, we have several categories of people. One, those who are not infected and those who are not vaccinated. Two, those who are infected and who have not vaccinated, those with natural immunity. Three, those who have not infected but who are vaccinated. And four, those who are infected and yet got vaccinated. Okay, so there are four categories of people. And I looked, for a year I've been researching and following all the research in this subject, and I cannot find in any government of the world precise statistics categorizing these four types and saying this is the data for this type, this is the data for this type, this is the data for this type. For example, now that infections are lower, which is good, but they are finding that people who are vaccinated are also catching the infection. Now within the vaccinated, they are not telling us the two subcategories. The ones who did not ever have an infection, they never had natural immunity, but they got immunity from the vaccine. And then this other group which had natural immunity, but yet it took the vaccine for various reasons. Now the cases that we are reading, that 75%, 85% of the new cases are amongst those vaccinated, especially in the Western countries where the vaccination rates are high. But yet amongst those vaccinated, there is no data available to say that these cases are among those who are only vaccinated without prior infection, and very, very few, very rare, if not zero cases, are among those who had natural immunity, who had prior infection, and then also took the vaccine. It will be interesting if such data were to be provided, but for some strange reason, no government is doing this. This reminds me of a story, if I may share with you, About 35 years ago, when I was in high school and facing my final examination, there was a man I remember. He used to go to all the houses wherever there was a student likely to face that exam, and he would offer their parents that, if you give me 1,000 rupees, I will ensure that your son or daughter gets a first class. To get 60% and above marks, which was rare those days, was considered a first class. And he claimed that he had some astrological powers or some divine powers, and he would make that happen. And so let's say he went to 100 of these houses, and let's say 50 shooed him away. And out of the other 50, they agreed, because he would take the 1,000 rupees only after the result came out. And let's assume that 25 out of the 50 houses, the students actually got a first class, but they got it out of their own merit. They got it because of their hard work and their study. But once the results came out, he would have the list and he would go to these 25 houses and get his 1,000 rupees each. And the parents, because they were at that time celebrating and happy, in a happy mood, they would part with their 1,000. And this man made 25,000 rupees 35 years ago, which is probably like 200,000 rupees now, out of doing nothing and playing a game of chance and probability, that I will claim success. A little part of the success will happen because of somebody else's efforts, then I can claim the credit. I'm reminded of that story now when I see this vaccine manufacturers and their claims. And I really ask myself, now that among those vaccinated in the Western countries especially, 50% are those who have already had previous infection and already had natural immunity, which means they already had their own merit. So now the vaccine manufacturers have it easy, like this man, and anyone who doesn't get the infection again, they claim it's because of our vaccine. Whereas you never know, it may be because of the person having had previous infection. Such are the games being played. Our man in our community was doing it in a small way, but when you enlarge that game, and play it in a methodical, organized, manner at the level of governments, then this is probably what you will see. And isn't it remarkable or shocking, some of you may even think, that the government and the medical administrations attached to governments who are driving this whole program of battling the coronavirus do not find it scientifically important to have these data categories? Even amongst those commenting, in the mainstream media on the coronavirus and all the research work being done, I find very few voices, which are strong voices, not small video makers like me, but really powerful voices who can and may have an influence if they actually start demanding that such data set should be available, that they should start recording it right now. Because the danger is that with this drive, accelerating vaccination drive, there will soon be no more person left who's unvaccinated and who has natural immunity alone. People like me who are unvaccinated and who probably have natural immunity would be an endangered species, especially in the West. But even in a country, huge country like India, with a billion plus population, we have already reached 25% of the adult population have been doubly vaccinated now. It's still time to go. We still have a large population who, if we do our seroprevalence studies and if we protect them, we can actually have that diversity in our population. And I think that's very important. To have that diversity in a population where there is a large segment of population who have natural immunity and who don't need and who don't take the vaccines for future reference and study, rather than artificially, and inoculating the entire 100% population with something whose long-term effects we don't even know now, such that later there will not be even a sample for us to compare and study. We talk about biodiversity. I'm sitting here in my natural farm, and that's very important to me. I see to it that all the 1,000+ varieties of flora and fauna here all thrive, and that biodiversity is maintained. It's similar in this case too. Even amongst human populations, even with the racially different populations in different demographic descriptions, I think we have to maintain that diversity. Let us hope somebody will wake up. Some scientists will demand it. Some powerful scientists, and they will start recording this data, and then we will know. I've come to the end of what I wanted to share this week, but I will end it by just scrolling up a list of survey after survey, study after study, which has only strengthened more and more the case for natural immunity. There are umpteen such shows. We ourselves in this channel have done many, but I will end with this. Just look at it. Even as the government ignores it, even as the medical bureaucrats, not the physicians on the ground, they are very sensitive and they appreciate this point, but the medical bureaucrats who are in power, how they are ignoring something despite study after study showing this. I will also, for those of you who are interested in researching scientifically into this, give all the links to all these studies in the text description below. Read it and find the self-confidence that comes from nature's method rather than these anti-nature types. I think if they call us anti-vaxxers, I'm not. I say that people, please take it if you're in a high-risk category. But they have branded all of us who support nature's way as anti-vaxxers. That is not true. But all of them certainly are anti-nature, and maybe we should have these two categories in our verbal jousting. Thank you, take care, and as usual, you must stay healthy, you must stay happy all the time. Namaskar.